what's great about this is you don't have to hate your side hustle. If you're actually good at something and you enjoy something, you can make money doing it. So ask yourself, what are things that I'm good at? What skills do I have? Do I see a need somewhere and I feel like I have the solution? Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Rachel Cruz Show podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. So in this episode, we're going to talk about side gigs and money lessons. I'll go over money lessons from our favorite fiction books with my friend and fellow book lover and Ramsey host, Courtney Dyksterhouse. But first, let's talk about some creative side gigs to try out in 2023 and questions to ask yourself to find your perfect side gig. Take a listen. So today we're going to talk about a trend that is on the rise this year, having a side hustle. Yep. So whether you're paying off debt, maybe you're saving up for a down payment for your home, maybe buying a new car, you name it, but boosting your income is one of the fastest ways to reach your financial goals. Now listen, I know adding more work to your already crazy life might feel impossible, but trust me, it doesn't have to be super complicated. And remember, this is just for a period of time. This isn't forever. And a lot of side hustles can be fun things that you already do, which is even better. So let's talk about some of the fun side hustles that people we know have done. We actually pulled these from people here at Ramsey Solutions as they were working the baby steps, and they had some great ideas. All right, you ready? Start a jewelry cleaning workshop. Yep. So this is what it is. I mean, it's just amazing. You get a mix of like dish soap, Windex, warm water, a little scrubbing with a toothbrush, and then your diamond ring sparkles. And so someone at our work did this. And so she charged $15 to clean one ring. So that's $15 in 5 minutes. You do 3 rings, that's $45 in 15 minutes. Yep. You make stuff look new and shiny. And if you're like me, if there's like gross kid Play-Doh and paints and food and like toothpaste and like all this stuff, right? Like it's stuff, if you wear your rings all the time or bracelets or whatever, your jewelry gets gross. So I'm like, yes, to have someone clean that sounds great. So you should do that side hustle. It's amazing. Next up is do IT work on the side. Now, don't let this intimidate you. And I don't mean like really complicated stuff unless you're really skilled, and if you are, more power to you. But I'm just talking about simple things to help people with technology. Older people, yep. So some people pay like Gen Zers or people to say, hey, will you just spend 30 minutes with me and show me how my phone works or how I do this or sync up pictures or set up Wi-Fi to my house, how to get my email from this icon to here, Google Docs, like stuff that you may use every day in life that is second nature to you. There might be someone else that needs help with it, and they'll pay you for it, which is pretty cool. Now, next is one of my favorites. Not to do, but to consume, and that's baking. Man, and I'm telling you, people here at the office, like they will have baked goods around, and it's amazing. So there was someone here who made 50 pumpkin rolls during Thanksgiving and sold them for $25 each. So she made $1,250 minus the cost of supplies. I mean, yeah, I'm like, you probably covered Christmas with that much. Like, right? I mean, like, it's amazing what people will buy when it comes to baked goods. So a great way to make some money. Next, get your car wrapped. All right. This takes someone to be like, I don't care what you think, because you can drive your car around and a company will put their logo on or whatever it is for $100 to $300 a month, because as your car drives around, it's like a moving advertisement for them, and they'll pay you for that. Yeah, that's it. So if you have a car, you're able to make a few $100 a month, which is pretty awesome. All right, up next is to sell watercolor portraits or do hand lettering. So if you really are artistic and you're great at that hand lettering, or if someone has a saying that they want or a quote, I've seen this done a lot for like Christmas gifts and stuff. People can create beautiful art that you can sell. Or if you're great at portraits, people love doing this for their homes, maybe their dogs or their children. You can make a lot of money doing that. And you can price your items depending on the size or the difficulty of the piece. So for example, if you charge $75 for a standard home portrait that took you an hour, you can make $150 in 2 hours of work. So you got some creativity out, made some money. It's awesome. All right, up next is to dig through bins at overstocked stores and resell the items on Facebook Marketplace. People have done this and they make a killing. So I actually knew someone that would go to a Nike outlet, buy Nike shoes and resell them and make money off them. So I think that's legal, right? So it's amazing when you resell stuff, you make some extra money. Next is referee kids sports. I think this is a great one. You can make anywhere from $14 to $50 an hour. So they're always looking for those refs. And speaking, I'm a soccer mom, y'all. So when I see those little refs out there, I'm like, good for you working hard. Up next is to teach music lessons. So if you're musically talented, teach music lessons, whether it's voice lessons or an instrument. And you can actually make a lot of money doing this as well. If you work at Trader Joe's, you get a discount on groceries. Yes. And the pay is higher on weekends, so you can work weekends and make more money. Become CPR certified and teach classes. This is another great one. Easy, if you have the skill, you're able to do it, teach some classes and earn some extra money. All right, next is someone worked for a catering company on the side for events. So it's kind of a side gig, right? Make some money. Good at sewing. Well, if you can do alterations, this can make you some great money. So dresses, pants, shirts, even curtains, even putting buttons back on, anything that has to do with sewing, people will pay you to do it. Someone here also worked for the U.S. Census Bureau, and you go door to door. You can make anywhere from $13 to $26 an hour. Okay, if you love cleaning out your car and detailing and all of that, car detailing may be in your future. Yeah, and you can do a mobile detailing business and clean people's cars at your lunch break from people at work. So you don't have to go anywhere. You just go out. If you have your kit, you go and detail the car, and people will pay some good money to get all those crumbs out of their car. It's worth it. Next is to sell military and government surplus goods at flea markets. You can also try book editing if you're great at grammar and all the things when it comes to the written word. Gosh, book editing is great. Also, you can go to yard sales and flip those items on eBay and Facebook. What do they say? Someone's trash is another man's treasure. Is that the quote? So, you never know. Make some money doing that. You can also clean your coworkers' headlights on their car during your lunch hour. You can build websites or do freelance graphic design work. That pays really well. Make shirts and sell them on Etsy. If you like acting or modeling, you can do that on the side. And you could average up to $400 a month just doing that. All right, this next one is very unique, but pretty brilliant. This is where creativity, I'm like, yes. So a girl here who works at Ramsey, she created beef jerky bouquets for women to buy their husbands for Valentine's Day or birthdays. And it's beef jerky. What man doesn't love beef jerky? So I think it's so creative, so fun. And she said it really helped pay towards their debts. All right. One of the themes when it comes to all of these side hustles, again, are things that, yes, use time, yes, use your talent, and some of them, some resources, but some not. And that's what I love about this is because, again, you don't have to go crazy outside the box. It's stuff that you naturally are good at, really does help. So here are 3 things that can help you figure out the best side hustle job for you. Let's start with time. Okay, ask yourself, how much time do I have to put into this side hustle? And be realistic about how much time is involved, before, during, and after the job. I want you to calculate what you actually are making per hour when you consider all the time involved. And what's great about this is you don't have to hate your side hustle. If you're actually good at something and you enjoy something, you can make money doing it. So ask yourself, what are things that I'm good at? What skills do I have? Do I see a need somewhere and I feel like I have the solution? And then ask yourself, what resources do I already have that others might need? And so all of that together really will help. So as you're looking through these options, think about your main goal of getting a side hustle. Why do you want a side hustle? Is it just to pay off debt? Is it to have a little bit of breathing room in your budget as you transition a couple of things? Is it because you just want more money, maybe to give generously or just to have for a vacation? Is it that maybe you want this side hustle to eventually turn into a business? Whatever your reason is, just make sure that it's good for you. It's going to involve some level of sacrifice, but overall, make sure it fits within your lifestyle. Make sure it fits within your goals so you know why you're doing this in the first place. Because again, there's going to be just some ups and downs of life. So there's going to be times you're excited about it. Sometimes you're going to feel drained by it. But when you know why you're doing it, why you need that extra money, why you're earning that extra money, that's going to help you for sure get through those down times. All right, make sure to share this with a friend who could make bank using her talents for a side hustle. If you're like, oh my gosh, she could do this and make some money. It's amazing. Hey guys, it's Rachel. If healthcare costs are increasing while your available choices are decreasing, check out Christian Healthcare Ministries. CHM is a biblically based health cost-sharing ministry, and it's an affordable alternative to health insurance. Find out more at chministries.org/budget. That's chministries.org/budget. Today is a really fun episode. There's so many things that I love in this one episode. One being my friend and Ramsey host, Courtney Dyksterhouse, is here.
Oh, that's
Hi, Courtney.
Right.
All the things. Okay, so you're here, which I love. And then we're going to talk about something that we both love.
Yes.
We are such nerds because we love books. Like, give us books all day long. Put me somewhere in isolation, but just give me a book and I'll be okay, right?
And you're a fast reader. You can get through
That's what
so many
people
books.
say.
You are. I aspire to be a fast reader.
Oh, Courtney,
I'm like
about
2
that.
books, maybe 3 a month, tops.
Which is a lot.
You're like 4 minimum.
Four. We're an average
okay.
4. But Courtney's always my friend, and I'm like, Courtney, have you read this? Or Courtney, have you seen this? Courtney, you gotta know about this. So we talk about books all the time. So we were chatting the other day, and I thought, oh my gosh, how fun would it be for Courtney to come on the show and talk about some of our favorite books and the money lessons in each of these books. So we're going to just dive in, which I think is really fun. So we'll see how this goes.
I find it kind of interesting knowing I never typically read a book to find
a money lesson.
Morals.
I know.
But then after we were talking about it, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many of my books that have money morals that I've just subconsciously
Same here.
Gravitated toward, but then just like passed by.
Yes.
One of those being this book, A Court of Silver Flames.
And how many pages is this?
This is almost 800 pages.
I mean, huge.
So Sarah Maas, I don't know. She's an incredible author. She obviously writes very lengthy books, fantasy. But this one, the main character, her name is Nesta, and her sister and brother-in-law, they're like lord and lady of this court.
Okay.
And so they have bukus of money. And so Nesta, she has like a chip on her shoulder, maybe some internal demons she has to work through. And she's spending all the court's money. And so she's spending. And then finally they say, enough's enough.
They're cutting her off.
No more. And so she now has to find her own way and make her own money and then face those internal demons. And so I thought a great money moral of this is boundaries with money and family.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you know when to have the difficult conversations? When is it time to close the door or say no more or say no at all?
Like you're spending all the court's money.
You're spending all the
you have
court's
to
money,
stop.
girl. I
Sometimes
know.
you have to stop.
I know.
Oh, that is so funny.
Great book, though.
You like that book. You loved it.
I love her stuff.
And it's a series, right?
Yes, this is the 5th one in the series, and I think there's 2 more that are going to be coming out.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, what do you got?
Okay, so this one is Kristen Hanna's Great Alone and The Great Alone. I love her. She wrote The Nightingale. I know, 4 Winds. She, so many of her books I just love so much. And so this one, I was like, man, what could be the money lesson in this one? Because this wasn't probably my favorite of hers, but the family ends up moving to Alaska. So the whole book is based on them really living this totally different lifestyle in Alaska. And you have to there's not a lot of people in the town. So you have to befriend a lot of the people because one person is the hunter and one person has this and that. And they help you survive because the winters in Alaska, not that I know from firsthand experience, but I think is really rough. So there's apparently a lot of snow, all that. Yep. So the survivalness of that is really tough, right? So anyways, the family, there's a lot of dysfunction in here, all the things, but they end up going to Alaska first and foremost because the dad's friend, I think is what it was, in the military had passed away and left it in his will was this property in Alaska. So that's why they went. So the moral of the story is just because it's free doesn't mean it's good. Because they had a really rough time in Alaska, and you read all about it in here. It's a really good book. But
just because something's free does not mean it's good. That's a good lesson.
If any of you leave me property in Alaska in your will, I may not take it.
Or you just might go in the summer.
That's right. That's right.
It'll be seasonal.
I'll be seasonal.
Snowbird. Yeah,
right.
That's great.
Oh, but great book.
That's a great, okay, I know I need to read some of her stuff, so that's just another reason why.
I know, it's great.
Okay, I know that you've read this one too, right?
No, I
People We Meet on
haven't.
Vacation?
I've not read it.
Oh, okay, so I haven't physically read it, but I audibled it.
Okay.
And this one I thought was really good.
Okay.
Here's the story of this. So the main character, her and one of her best friends, which is a male, they would always go on these trips that her company paid for because she was a writer. And so she would go on these extravagant trips and she would write about it. Anyways, they had a falling out. And so now she wants to try to reenact this life that they had together going on trips every single year. And so she tells her friend, hey, let's go on a trip that my company's paying for. The twist of it is company isn't in fact paying for it because they're like, no, we don't want to. I think they're going to like Palm Springs and the company's like really luxury. They're like, no, there's nothing there that we're going to be interested in you covering. And so she pays her own money to go and have this experience. Meanwhile, Alex is her friend, is going on this trip with her thinking that, okay, well, I guess your company's paying for it.
It's free.
But the thing is, she doesn't hardly have any money. And so she's paying for like this really crappy hotel. And all these things go wrong. And so here's where I feel like she went right with this. One, Poppy is the main character. She went right with living in her means, right? Like she didn't try to go get the 5-star hotel on a credit card just to try to maintain the,
experiences that they had together.
Yes. But where she went wrong is you got to be honest about your financial situation with the person that you say that you love the most. It's like you can't be telling them that.
Is there a love at the end, or is that like you can't?
Well, maybe. I feel like Emily Henry, all of hers are about love. So I feel like it's safe to say like there is this dynamic of love.
Okay.
That I think is great. Yeah, I think it's great. But don't lie to the people that you love about money. You got to be honest. If you can't afford it, you can't afford it.
When you go to Palm Springs. So good. Okay, next is The Measure. So this book was really interesting. So it basically is everyone around the world who's 18 or older wakes up one day and there's a box sitting at their front porch. And within the box is a string. And depending on how long the string is or how short the string is how long you have to live, basically. Yeah.
That is just makes my stomach turn.
It's crazy. Yes. Wow. So the whole book, it follows, I think maybe like 6 people and their journeys. And then of course, like any good book, I don't want to ruin it, but their stories start to intertwine.
That's amazing.
Throughout, which I love that. Where I'm like, oh, that person, okay.
Yes.
So it's fascinating though, because if you even think about that, how society reacts, right? So like, I don't want to give everything away, but it's like a small part, like there's a political campaign. And it's like, okay, well, if the person running for office has a short string, is it worth putting them in office if you know they're probably not going to do a second term? Like that something's going to happen to them. So vote for the person that has the long string. But then
does everyone know what you're?
Yeah. You can say it. You can like publicly. Yep. So like so it just makes you think of like yes, like what would you do? I don't know.
Yeah.
And then some people choose not to open the box. So for some people they didn't know what it was and didn't touch it. And then after a day or two on the news and stuff, they learned what it was and they said, you know what, we're not gonna. I don't want to open it. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Which I think would be me.
I was gonna say, would you?
No, I don't think I would. I don't think I would. No.
I don't know.
I would live I would just keep living. So all that to say, I think the money lesson in here is the people that had the short strings naturally, which I can't blame them.
YOLO.
Had that YOLO mentality where it's like, I mean, you only live once. If my life's going to be ending in the next 2 years, might as well go see the places I want to see.
Yeah.
Do the things I want to do with the money I have. So, I mean, I can't blame them at all. But I would have like the little asterisk though to think beyond just you with your money,
your
right?
legacy.
Like, yes, is there a legacy?
Do you have kids? Are you involved in that picture?
That's right. Yep. You're for your kids. Is it things within, your community, things you're passionate about that you're like, I want to see this money be put to really great use even after I'm gone, So having that as part of it, but I can't
great.
blame them, There's part of me that I'm like, sure.
Yeah, short-sighted versus...
If you told me I had 18 months to live, I don't know what I would do.
Yeah, let's go, man. Let's go. No, that's great. I want to read it, but also I don't.
It sounds more disturbing than it is. It sounds very disturbing, but it's...
But you do like disturbing stuff.
But
I do too.
It really is.
That's great.
So good.
That's great.
The Measure.
Okay, that's good. All right, so... This one, actually, start with that one, because I feel like this one's going to make more sense, because this one came before this one. Colleen Hoover.
It Ends With Us came out first. and It Starts With Us.
Not to be confused with the titles, because like It Starts With Us, you think that would be the first and this would be the second, but no, this came first, this came second.
It's backwards, yes.
And so talk about that one first, and then we'll pick up with this one.
Okay, so, gosh, it's been a little bit, I'm trying to think of even the main characters.
Lily,
yes.
Atlas.
And Atlas, okay,
Yes.
yeah, that's right. I was like, gosh, it's been like a year since I read it. So great story of the main guy, I guess you could say, in the book. Sort of the main guy. There's another guy, but you know, it's a love book. But yeah, he had a rough childhood, homeless at one point, and so she, throughout high school, is really there for him on many different levels. And then they grow up, kind of go their separate ways, and then their stories end up intertwining later on in life. So I would say for It Ends With Us, his story specifically, which is what goes on in this book, It Starts With Us. But I think the lesson is redemption. Like where he came from was nothing, like literally nothing, and really made something of himself in the book. You know, not that he was like this crazy, like Fortune 500,
right.
But he had an incredible life. You know, he like did the restaurant, started like he built a life on his own. And so it just shows that, regardless of what your story is or where you came from, the ability to say, hey, I can actually do something with my life, even if I've had hardships and all that. So it's beautiful. It's a great book.
Yes. I feel like both of the morals in both of these are the same financially.
Yes,
like
we're
on the
talking
financial.
We may be stretching, trying to find.
Yes, we just really like Colleen Hoover, so we had to find a way to put her in this.
Really trying to find a way.
But no, I mean, like a little bit more. I know you haven't read this one, so I'm not going to give too much away. But Atlas, experiencing homelessness when he was a child, and then he is able to run his own restaurant, and so like just seeing where you start doesn't have to be where you end.
Yes.
Like your start doesn't have to be your ending. You can make your own life. And I know that it's harder and some people are more disadvantaged, but I find so much hope in knowing like you have so much power, and your mind is one of the biggest things that keep us from where we want to be, even like myself included. I'm not speaking to anyone in particular other than for me.
Yes,
like our mindset on a lot of things, especially money. We talk about behavior versus the aspect of like literacy with money, and so much of it is behavior based. And so
it is.
Getting that mindset right, knowing that what you can achieve, I think is just so important.
I love that. Okay, so It Starts With Us. Is he narrating it?
It's multiple perspectives.
Okay.
Yes. So
but it goes back before this?
It continues. That's what's so confusing, because people thought that it was back in their childhood.
That's what I thought too. Oh my gosh.
It picks up the last scene of that book. Picks up right here. And it is so good. I read it in like 3 hours. I was a speed reader for this one because it was that good.
Jeez, I can't believe I haven't read it yet.
Okay, so the next book is The Hunger Games. This is a classic in my world. Let's be honest. I'm sure all the people that are writers are rolling over in their graves, and those who are still alive be like, that's not a classic. But to me, this was my classic childhood, The Hunger Games.
I know, so
I
good.
have so many stories about this. I remember being in high school, and I had just recently broken with my boyfriend, and so I didn't eat in the cafeteria. I went to the library, and I literally opened The Hunger Games. It gets worse. I would read Hunger Games with one of my best friends, and we would open the Bible, and then we would find parallels.
You would.
Needless to say, we were really struggling to find them, but we tried.
And now you're here years later to find parallels with money with me.
That's right. But I do think that there is like such a good money moral to this story that's super important. So the Capitol, for anybody who's read the books or seen the movies, you know that the Capitol is this all-powerful body of people who try to take all control over these 12 districts, 13, spoiler alert. And so when they do, they take all their money, they take all their power, and then they send 2 people each year into the Hunger Games from each district where they fight literally to the death. And then in return, if you win, if you're the victor, then you get your own nice like bougie house for the rest of your life. And then your district for the year gets food. So, of course, all of these districts, knowing that they're in severe poverty, are trying to win each year, so they can survive.
Yep.
And so I feel like this book is such an important one because we talk about this all the time here. Money just makes you more of who you are.
Yes.
It just makes you more of who you are.
It's the magnifying
glass. So if you
glass.
want power, you're gonna find more ways to be more ugly with power when you have more money. And so you got to get your mindset right. And I think, oh man, it's like, man, if I had more money, then I would just be this. It's like, no, you'll just be the same as you. You'll just be richer.
Yes, that's right.
And you'll probably make more silly mistakes.
I know.
And control people along the way. So, Hunger Games, man. Katniss Everdeen
makes you more of what you already are.
More of who you are.
All right, another one.
Oh,
Gone Girl.
That's a great one, Rach.
Yes, I know. We're going back in time here with these.
Yeah.
Okay. Gosh, this was a great one. Great thriller. I'm sure many of you have read it or seen the movie. Ben Affleck is in it. Is one of the characters in the movie. But yeah, so basically, this is a hard one because I don't want to give anything away. But Amy, who's one of the main characters of the book, you don't know what has happened to her. You're kind of reading and kind of figuring out, oh my gosh, is she dead? We're not sure. And then in the middle of the book, everything shifts and you get her perspective and it's just crazy. So basically, she's nuts. She's nuts, okay? So, Amy, you crazy.
Amy.
You're crazy, Amy.
Girl.
So I'd say the money lesson in here is make sure not to marry someone crazy and to talk to your spouse about money. Because there were scenes where, the garage door would open and there would be like all this crazy stuff that she bought and like racked up, credit card debt, all that. Yep. And he was like, what? I had no clue. And so there were these moments throughout the movie you could tell that they were not on the same page. So it's a money lesson there, you guys. Be on the same page with your spouse.
We also don't think
have the same values.
We could be living totally separate. Like we could have a separate life just financially alone.
Yes.
Like even just like you buying something on Amazon without like your spouse knowing.
Yeah, that it's like you just have your thing over here.
And you're partly living like a separate life.
Yes.
In an aspect, which is kind of hard to digest.
Strange.
But it's true.
I know.
It can really become divisive and sever relationships. So
totally.
The last one that I have to present to you is Where the Crawdads Sing.
Yes.
And this, if you've read the book, you know that this is, nobody that I've ever talked to about this book has said, that's not good. Everyone that I've spoken to is like, this is an incredible book.
Yes.
The movie I thought was really good too. For people who can't remember it, a high overview, Kaya, the main character here, they called her the Marsh Girl because her and her family lived in poverty. And so they lived on the outskirts of this really rich town and they were in like the marshy lands. And so Kaya, she loves nature and she's really, really smart. And so she met this guy, Chase Andrews, I think that's his last name, one of the affluent teens there in the city. And so he would come and they had a relationship. And then she found out she never left the marsh until one day. And she left. Well, she did sometimes, or very rarely.
Yeah.
But she saw him in town with another woman and a ring on her finger. And so meanwhile, speaking of a whole different life, he had a completely different life. So he was using Kaya all the more, knowing that he could never marry Kaya, even though he told her that they were going to be like long game, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he thought he needed to keep with the stature of affluency. And so I feel like this is such an important message for all of us, no matter where we are, socioeconomic status and the prejudices that we can experience, or maybe sometimes even subconsciously treat other people with simply because they don't walk in the same shoes as us. Maybe they don't have as many advantages as we do, privilege as we do. And so I think it's just an important moral for all of us to be in check about.
So good. So good.
Yeah.
Seeing people as equal, because she was not treated like that.
She was not.
At all in the book. And that was part of the heartbreak.
But she came out on top. She came out on top.
Even decades later.
Yes. No spoils, but spoils.
All right, last, we'll share this one because we both read it. Book lovers.
Take the lead.
Emily Henry here as well. Okay, so basically the overview of the book is there's a book agent. She meets this other, I guess, is he a book agent?
He's an editor.
Editor, yes. And so they were trying to work on a project, but he's kind of a jerk. They don't, so they kind of, at the beginning of the book, then they go their separate ways. Well, then they end up in this small town together. I don't want to give anything away, but yeah, sparks start flying between the book people in here. But her story, when you look back on her childhood that she shares with you through the book, her mom had a really rough relationship with money. So lots of debt, lots of struggle, working, racked up tons of credit cards, all of that. And then when she died, she left a pile of debt with no insurance. And so she really the main character had to come out from that and not only learn how to handle money well, but man, she had to really get past what her mom implanted in her of what money was like too.
Changing your family tree, that was something really important. And they literally, I mean, it's like Emily Henry knows our principles here because what did this woman do to get out of debt? She got on a budget and she took extra jobs. I was like, well, if that isn't Ramsey Solutions, I don't know what is.
Oh, Emily, you knew us so well.
You knew us so well. It's just so true. I felt like that was that is a great example of a book that is just such a common story.
Yes.
That like knowing that you or your parents or somebody in your life has credit card debt and you are left with that, or you realize you're, upside down and everything financially. And what are the most practical steps in order to dig yourself out of this hole?
I know.
Get on that budget and get those odd-end jobs.
So good. Oh, Courtney, this is so fun.
Thank you for having me. This was a blast.
Who knew there were so many money lessons in the most random books you could ever think about?
I know.
But we love books. We love talking about money, so it works so well. So good.
Yes.
Courtney, thanks again.
Thank you.
So where can everyone find you?
You can find me, I'm usually on Instagram, sometimes on TikTok, but at Courtney Dyksterhouse. And the spelling is tragic, but I'm sure we'll have it somewhere in the show notes.
It'll be there. Oh, I just love books. I mean, it's just so fun. The fact there's some money lessons in there just makes my heart so happy. So I want to thank Courtney so much for being a guest on today's show. And thank you guys so much for listening. If you have not hit that follow button to subscribe to the podcast, make sure to do that. And if the Spirit leads, you can leave a review. And as always, remember to take control of your money and create a life you love.